So reflection is the opportunity to bring all stakeholders from society, academics, government, companies, NGOs, to discuss how to make progress on climate change. What kind of actions can we take together, and in particular this year, about regulation.
We have a clear understanding that the main driver of future warming are cumulative CO2 emissions. So what really matters is the ability to have a sufficient pace of CO2 emission reductions to prepare to reach net zero with a smaller amount and the earliest as possible. And we can see increased regulation like national policies that target carbon budgets with aims per periods of several years. However, there are still challenges for companies, for instance, and the UN high-level panel has released last November a very interesting report for non-state actors, net zero emission strategies called Integrity Matters, with a few core principles that could be incorporated in companies' strategies or cities' strategies so that their strategy is consistent with science, traceable, transparent, and would lead to the expected outcomes.
Even if governments are, even more so than they normally are, kind of turning a little bit inwards to themselves, they're also knowing that they need to diversify, they need to find allies and cooperate with each other, and especially on environmental issues which cannot be solved by a single country operating on its own. I think that if we look at the attendance at major international meetings, particularly the annual climate change COP, the numbers are only growing each year. They're not reducing, and the understanding of the urgency of the challenges is growing along with it.
I am hopeful about our future. I think I'm what Christina Figueres calls stubbornly hopeful, and that's because the women that Women's Earth Alliance works with, they are stubbornly hopeful. They're standing on the front lines of the climate crisis. They are experiencing firsthand any sort of government inaction or stagnation is reaping on our world, and yet they are stubbornly hopeful. And yet, no matter what kind of gathering Women's Earth Alliance hosts, whether it's a capacity building training, a market day, just an event, there is never an event that goes by that doesn't include some sort of singing, joy and singing. And that's because these women are stubbornly hopeful. That's because they will not stop. They will not stop until their children and their families and their communities, and really all of us, are safe. And so I'm optimistic because they still exist.
So the main barrier is a mindset. The second barrier is our age. That the old people, the aging people who are increasing in a population, their changing the mindset will be extremely difficult. But the opportunity that we have is the young people, where we can change the barriers. We can overcome that barrier. There is another, that urbanization is taking place at a fast speed. The population in a village is coming to the urban area where there is no nature. So some of the solutions that nature is giving us, that we are forgetting it. And that forgetfulness is also the barrier.
My advice to students would be to learn and act. Learn about the fundamentals, because I believe first it's important to understand what is at work scientifically about climate change, in physics, in math, in computer science.
This generation that's coming into the workforce, that's exiting university, is to find that fire, whatever you feel that fire inside you about, whether or not that's climate, whether or not that's mitigation, recycling, science, find that fire and follow it.
And this nature is there and giving us the lessons for last 3.5 billion years. There is no teacher for the nature, but the nature is a teacher for our young generation.